Welcome to Unforbidden Truth. I'm Andrew. Today I'll be speaking with body removal specialist Ryan. Ryan talks about what it is like to pick up bodies for a living. Here's my interview with Ryan, the body removal specialist.
My name's Ryan. I'm from Prescott Valley, Arizona. Well, originally from Prescott, but now in Prescott Valley. Um, Grew up here since I was two. Really neat up here.
So tell me what you do for a living in a nutshell.
So my what? So I'm a body removal specialist. Going on almost 13 years now. So basically, what we do is we're a third party contracted company that picks up every body in the county. So from the coroner, which is up here, it's a medical examiner. It's kind of the same thing. And pretty much every funeral home in our area, they contract us to pick up whatever bodies there are. There's usually four of us. Right now, we actually have one extra guy, so there's five. And us five just run the entire county.
So what's the hardest and easiest part of your job?
Um, the hardest part is probably the physical part. The larger the person, the harder it is. It's literally dead weight. There's a lot of small houses up here, a lot of trailers, so it's you have to be physically able to remove these people from where they're at. The easiest part is probably just trying to help the families. I mean, the reason I got into this in the first place was because I really like just being there for the families. It's kind of taking that loved one to their final destination. Um, I think that's probably the easiest part and the best part of it.
So do you enjoy what you do?
I do very much. Yeah. A lot of people look at this job as taboo or something weird, and it's not really. I mean, it's one of the oldest jobs in the world. If you think about it, since there's been humans on the earth, there's been somebody or somebody, what I mean, to pick up the body. So, I really enjoy what I do. I think it's really fulfilling in a way, being able to be there for, the nicest people in the worst times in their lives.
I imagine it's one of those jobs where you can't bring like your stress to work with you because one mistake in front of a family member or something of a loved one, and your job is probably up right then and there. How like if you drop them or if you just
Yeah. And
snap
I
on
mean,
somebody, like
yeah, and that happens. I mean, if you've done this as long as I have, you've dropped one, and mainly it's the gurney failing or snow or something like that. But yeah, you got to be really careful. You have to really pay attention. You have to go slow. Yeah, there's there's so much to it.
so what's the worst uh job you've ever had to do in terms of like I guess like fluids like blood, guts, whatever was just everywhere.
So I think I get asked that a lot, and I think the one I always go to, just because it was so crazy, was we had a helicopter crash here in the county, and it was just a guy who was piloting. It was one of those old green, like Vietnam style Huey choppers, and it was him and his girlfriend. They were driving. I think they were flying back from Sedona, and about halfway back, the rotors detached. I guess the pin holding everything on just fell apart, and the rotors. So when that happens, the rotors come down faster than the fuselage falls out of the air. So um, when that happened, it basically like chopped them up in pieces before in midair. So then at that point, they're still, a few thousand feet up. Everything disintegrates and goes in their own separate places. And then the main part of the fuselage kind of fell down. And so we knew there was two people on board. We got on scene. We opened two bags, knowing that there was two people, and we just started doing a circle around the main fuselage area. And we would just find a part here and a part there. So we were finding, an arm over here and a head over there and a leg and a foot over there. And then we would start following ant trails because ants will go to blood for some reason. I still don't know why. So we would see like a group of ants going, and we would just follow where they're going. And sure enough, it would lead us to another piece and part. Um, so we would slowly, over the course of like 6 or 7 hours, piece these people back together. And then we finally got like it was like a mini tow truck with a big chain on the back, and they started like pulling up pieces of the fuselage, and then we found a lot more in there. The woman's torso was still strapped in the seat. It was nothing but a torso. So we were able to unbuckle that and pull that out. Little things like we were standing there trying to, while they were pulling little pieces out, and one of the cops was standing next to me. He looks down and he sees like, so I thought it was a rock, and he's like looking closer and he's like, that looks like suspiciously human. And I looked down and it was three vertebrae fused on the ground. To me, it just looked like a rock. You know, you had to really look closely. So after about 6 hours, we pieced them all back together, except missing a few parts, a few main parts, but
Wow, that's
mostly,
crazy.
yeah.
And that's just like an
It,
average day.
I mean, at that point, it was probably that, that was probably at that time the craziest job I've done. They're all crazy in their own way. Then you have decomps where they've been there for 3, 4 weeks, sometimes in a bathtub, and they're just jello, and you gotta like pull the pieces out, and you know what I mean. There's a lot to it that people probably don't think about, but
Yeah,
yeah, it.
that's crazy. I can only imagine. I mean, if somebody's been there for so long, they could be just bones or like mummified if it's hot enough, right?
Mhm. Yep, yeah. So it depends. It's also really dry up here, so we do get a lot of mummies, um, just because of the climate up here. So we get a lot of decomps if they have like the heater on, or if it's midsummer and they got windows open, that kind of thing. But we also find a lot of people that have just been there for years, like sometimes year, 2 years, and they're just totally looks like something off of Egypt or something. They're just totally mummified. It's the weirdest thing.
That yeah, that's crazy. That would be wild. So
Yeah.
so when they take them to the morgue, do they like take them like that, or do they like somehow open the whatever it is that's like mummified them, especially for like their family, like open casket or whatever? Like, are they able to do that at that point?
No, anything like that, they just tell the family. Well, usually if their mummy or been gone that long, probably means they don't have family
Well,
because no one
right,
found them for
right.
that long. But in general, yeah. I mean, if they're super messed up, the funeral homes are pretty direct, and that's probably all funeral homes. They'll tell the family straight up, like, hey, this you can't do an open casket. There's just no way. And the family usually understands.
Hmm.
And they still sometimes they don't, and they say, I don't care, do it anyways, and they do their best, and it does not look good. So yeah, I would take the mortuary's advice when they say don't do an open casket.
Right, right. Yeah, most definitely. So besides the couple, that was in the helicopter, have you had any other instances where you've had to bring more than one body bag at a time?
Oh yeah, so all the time. Fatalities are usually the ones. So a small passenger car with a whole family hits a semi or something, the whole family's gone. So
Oh, damn.
usually we'll find out how many bodies are on scene. If there's more than two, then we bring two vans because we can fit two in each van. I've had to fit four in one van before, just because we were down to one van, so it was what it was. But we have four gurneys with two vans, so two gurneys in each. And I think the most I've pulled off one scene was five. Uh, I had to do five. It was a fatality. Everything they were everywhere, and we only had one van, so I had to fit everybody in one van very carefully.
That's crazy. So not to pry too much, but I'm just curious, like, do you get paid like salary, like per body or like per like hourly? Like, how does that work?
So we get paid per body.
Hmm.
There's no hourly rate. It's just per body, and then it's plus mileage. So you get paid a certain amount per each body, and then you get a certain amount per mile once the bodies are loaded.
So you have to use your own vehicle then? That's how you claim mileage?
No, we have company
Oh,
like
okay,
hearse
okay.
vans. We try to stay, it doesn't look like a hearse. They just look like those big panel vans.
Oh, okay,
We
okay, I
try to
got
stay
you.
inconspicuous. There's a small logo on the back. Unless you know who we are, you don't know what it means. But yeah, they're big panel vans. All our equipment's in there. We usually carry like five or six of each type of body bag in there, sheets and all the supplies we might need.
Hmm. Okay. So what are you required to pick up and remove from the scene? Like, I know sometimes you guys aren't going to get all the blood. There will be blood stains, of course, but like, what do
Yeah.
you have to take from the scene to where it'll be like infectious to somebody else, you know?
So we're not required to do any cleanup. We just have to take all the parts. So for instance, like if someone, kills himself with a shotgun or something, it makes a huge mess. So we'll go in, we'll remove the body, we'll pick through everything and find every little skull fragment, every chunk of hair, every piece of skin. Usually there's huge piles of coagulated blood, and we'll actually sift through that and find like the hard chunks of stuff. And basically, all we try to leave behind is, well, we try to leave behind nothing. But if there's a ton of blood, we're not cleanup crews, so we leave that for the pros. So we just take all the hard chunks and stuff in the body itself. All the blood that's left behind, there's companies here that have like professional equipment. It's all biohazard and stuff, and they come in suits and they like have to treat the whole house. It's pretty crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. I know a few people that have actually done crime scene like lead cleanup and stuff like that, and that just seems really interesting to me. I don't think I could do it because I'm pretty squeamish, believe it or
Are
not.
you? Yeah, I mean, there's times that I'll clean up. We're not required to, but anytime a kid does something, like a kid shoots himself or something, like I don't want to have the mom have to deal with that later. So on those scenes, I'll go and grab towels, paper towels, whatever I can, and try to clean up as much as possible to make the scene look like it never happened as best as possible. So that
Right,
way, they don't walk in and just this huge blood pile in their kitchen or whatever.
right, right. Speaking of dealing with family members, how involved are you guys when it comes to dealing with them of the
So
deceased?
it's kind of on a call basis, right? So, on the really bad calls, usually the cops try to keep the family away from what we're doing because it's not something they're going to want to see, but they're allowed to. So like if they tell the cops I want to be here, then they stay. So, sometimes they're okay. A lot of times they're not. I've been tackled, I've been slapped, I've been jumped on, I've been grabbed, just because not trying to they weren't trying to be mean, but they were just so upset they didn't know what to do and their emotions were out of whack. And so all you can do at that point is just kind of like try to console them the best you can, let them know that you're here for them and whoever passed, and try to do your best to calm them down.
Right, right. Yeah, I can only imagine it's just a traumatic situation that's unfolding and they're just not knowing what to do, which I guess is somewhat understandable.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
So that
Sometimes.
so that kind of brings me to my next question, which you answered a little bit, which is like, have you ever had any tense moments with family members? Like, what's the most tense moment you ever had with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, so there was on a couple calls, I've been grabbed, like the mom or the dad will grab me, like, because I'm the one taking your loved one. They want to know everything, every detail, and they don't want me to leave till then. So they'll grab me, they'll hold me, and they'll ask me lots of questions. And they'll get like, they're just emotional. So it's not necessarily like they're angry at me, but they're just, letting their emotions out. But I think the worst is when there's a lot of family members and they're drinking. When someone passes, it's very often for the family members to all gather there before we get there, and everybody starts drinking. And man, you go on calls with like 10, 15 people that have been drinking a bunch and their loved one just died. Like, it's not good sometimes. Like, cops will come and they'll help us out and they'll get us out of there and stuff, but they can get rowdy and angry at that point. It goes from being sad to angry really fast when they start drinking. So, you know, we don't take it personal because we know they're just hurting. Um, I've never been like physically actually assaulted hard or anything. It's just a lot of yelling, screaming, that kind of thing.
Hmm. So I'm assuming you probably have a pretty good immune system to the point where like you're able to smell certain things and not throw up and whatnot. Like,
Oh
have
yeah.
you ever been to a scene where it's been bad enough to where you've thrown up or you've had to like just leave there and come back like completely masked up or whatever?
So, not, I mean, I know it's gonna sound weird and people probably think I'm full of shit, but no, man, like I don't know what it is. I've I can go like when I first started this, I had a big respirator because I was so worried that I would throw up or get sick or something on scene. I didn't want to look like a pussy, right? So I would wear this huge mask. The problem is you can't breathe in those masks. So when you're going on a really stinky one, usually it's hot and you're in there and you got this big mask on and you can't breathe. So finally, like after a couple times, I didn't wear the mask anymore. And like, there's been a couple times where I just kind of had to turn my head and go, whoa. But for the most part, I've learned really well how to just breathe through my mouth. But I mean, it now I've done it so long, I can go in and it doesn't even phase me like at all. And like, there's lots of bug activity. Flies are trying to fly in your mouth and up your nose. So, it helps having a beard because you can just kind of purse your lips and nothing can get in. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm lucky with the smell thing. It's never bugged me. It doesn't bug me now. Yeah, I guess I'm just lucky. Because
Well, that's good. That's good because it could probably
yeah.
get bad real quick.
Yeah, I mean it's bad, man. Like when they're in water or something for a while. Oh man. I mean, you can smell it two doors down sometimes, and you're just like, I'll drive down a neighborhood and I'll smell something and I'll go, oh, there's someone around here. And then, like, no shit, 2 or 3 days later, they'll be found. And I'm like, knew it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What kind of PPE wear do you guys wear?
So we have, I mean, for me, really, only thing I wear is like latex gloves. On really bad ones, I'll double up the latex gloves. We have like waterproof booties for our boots sometimes if we need them. If there's a really like a lot of sludge down or a lot of blood, we'll wear booties sometimes. We have Tarvex suits, but like in 12 years, I've used it once. Um, I mean, yeah, it's really just gloves and booties. Sometimes arm protectors, they like slide over your arms. Um, and then trash bags. So I always carry like a big roll of black trash bags. So what the trash bags, what I can do is like if they're in like a bathtub with water, I want to drain the water first before I see what I so I can like see what I'm working with. So I can put a trash bag over my arms and actually reach down and like pull the plug and like swoosh it around so like all the water and stuff goes out. But that's about it, man. Like it's not like in the movies where you see people in big suits and stuff. We've never really used those.
Hmm. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked any cases where it was like a active homicide scene?
So yeah, a lot actually. We usually get active homicides like up here. It used to be like 2 or 3 a year. Now it's like 6 or 7, 8 a year. Yeah, I mean it's pretty. Those are pretty interesting because on those ones you have like the CSI teams and they got these crazy 360 cameras and everything, and so we're kind of working around them, right? So we'll get there and they're taking photos and all this 360 camera stuff of like one body if there's only one or if there's more, and then they'll let us know when we can take that one, and then they'll move to the next one if there's more. Like I just did one a couple months ago. It was a murder suicide guy shot two women and then lit the house on fire and then retreated into the bathroom, and then I think he decided he didn't want to burn, so then he shot himself too. So it is wild going in those houses that have burned or murder scenes, like it's something off Dexter. I guess it's crazy.
Right. Do they tell you to be extra careful with the bodies, like for later on in case they need to look for more evidence?
Yeah, so for those, anything suicide, anything with gunshots, anything like that, we bag the hands. We're really careful not to like disturb anything on the scene. We're very careful not to like cause any trauma, extra trauma or whatever to the body. So we're just, we take it 2 or 3 steps above, just being super, super careful, making sure that we don't leave any marks or anything ourselves. Because like, every bit can be good for their investigation. So yeah, we're just extra careful on those ones.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you guys get to be a part of that and watch the CSI people take photos and take evidence and stuff like that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it's fun in a weird way.
Right, right. What's the most or what's the biggest misconception about your job?
I think for most, when I tell someone what I do, I think they're just like, isn't that creepy? So I think the most misconception about what we do is that it's like taboo or we're weird or like we're like, internal weird serial killers or something. When really we're just trying to help families and we're just lucky enough to not be creeped out by dead bodies. I mean, this whole job is really just trying to be there for the families. If there is families, if not, you're just doing the best you can for, the person that passed away. Um, so I think when most of the time when I tell somebody, they're just like, "What? Like, what is wrong with you?" And then I'm like, I mean, think about it. Like, do you think people that work at funeral homes are weird? They're helping people, so that's kind of what we do, and that's what we strive to do, anyways.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
that's what I think about it too. Like, I mean, it could be worse. It could be the family could be taking care of their loved one's body. So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, someone's got to do it, right? And it takes people like me that, for some weird reason, it doesn't bug, to do it. But yeah, I think people misconception and like think that it's creepy and super morbid, and In a way it is, but in a way it's just really trying to be there for the families and the loved one that passed.
Right. I think of the TV show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, and I think
Yeah,
that's probably like the worst quote unquote dirty job ever because you're dealing with actual deceased human beings and
yeah,
feces and this and that can come out at any time. And
yeah. I talk all the time, like, because I love that show, and Mike Rowe's awesome, and I'm always like, man, he should come take some rides with us for a couple of weeks and see how he likes that.
yeah, I'm sure that would be something brand new to him, even though
Yeah,
he's used
right.
to all that weird stuff.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
Um, I mean, just people out there, if you're, growing up and kind of thinking about coming into this business, or you want to be, dealing with the dead and working for a mortuary or working for someone like me, a third party company that just picks up the bodies. Look into it. You don't have to have any schooling. There's no like college courses or anything you need to take. You literally just need a driver's license and a strong stomach, and you have to have empathy, to be there. Don't come into it, thinking that it's going to be all crazy all the time. Half of it, if not more, is super boring. You're picking up little old ladies in beds at their house. You know what I mean? So, but if it's something that you think you like, pursue it. It's a great job. It's very rewarding. Um, it feels really, really good to help these families. And when we're leaving a scene and the family thanks you and you can just see tears in their eyes, that's all worth it, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you coming on today. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to do this for a while with you, and I think it's super fascinating what you do, and I think the field of death, so to say, is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It very much is. Thanks for having me.
That was my interview with Ryan, the body removal specialist. I just recently did away with most of my Patreon, but I still have Patreon for ad-free episodes if you want to head on over to patreon.com/unforbidden truth. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.